All right, so today we're going to learn a little bit more about Adobe Animate. So I'm going to go to my Windows Start button. I'm going to find the Adobe Animate CC 2018. So here's Adobe Animate. I'm going to open that up. Make sure you take notes. Notes are always helpful. Okay, so I'm going to resize this window here to get my little cool picture off the screen just a tad bit. It may or may not want to do that because this splash screen, now you can click the don't show again here, but I recommend you don't. I like leaving it up so that way I have a quick little, I can either open a file I've already used or I can create a new one. All right, so today we're going to talk just a tad bit more. So the other day we made a file using an ActionScript 3.0. ActionScript 3.0 is the native programming language used in Adobe Animate, and it's a little modified version of JavaScript, which is a modified version of Java. Java and JavaScript are not the same. They have a lot of similar features, but ActionScript is pretty close to how JavaScript runs and works, and so there's a lot of cool things that are similar to it. Remember, Air it's a platform that's used to run on desktop computers as well as Android and Apple iOS devices, and so you can make things that'll run on smartphones. And so, using Air for Android or Air for iOS. WebGL is another platform that's primarily used in like gaming and stuff like that. And HTML Canvas, HTML5 Canvas. HTML5 is the current web standard for hypertext markup language. That's the language that is used to control the presentation of what web pages do and show. And so it's a presentation language. It's not a coding programming algorithm type language, but it's a presentation. You present stuff onto the screen, you show stuff. And so today we're going to go ahead and we'll do an HTML5 canvas. The features and functions of everything that we're doing, it's not going to care if we chose an ActionScript 3.0 animate file or a web file. Had a little pop-up here. I kind of like to leave those on, little helpful hints, because something, you never know, you might learn something. So I like to leave those on. So let's look again. So we have our stage. Our stage is where, just like in theater, just like in the school cafeteria, it's like you have your stage and then you have your off-stage area. So you can put pictures, you can put graphics, you can put text off stage. And when you publish your file, the only thing that's going to show is what is on stage. When I click on the stage, I see the properties over here directly related to what I have on the stage. Now let me go ahead and let me see. Yeah, no, we'll go ahead and leave this up. All right, so we got the properties. Now remember, if you ever lose, you close something out, you shrink it down or you close it and you can't find it, you can always go to Window. You open up the window drop down and then you have the option to turn on the different window panes. You have the option to turn on those different windows or those different panes. With Adobe Animate, remember your workspace, if you want to modify your workspace, the layup. These basically are just the tools and things like that it just positions them. You can come here. So let's go and look at what's an animator look like. So this is how the animator screen looks. And these are just all presets. There's nothing turned on or turned off that's not in something else, but this is just commonly how it's done. When I learned how to do Adobe Flash Professional, which was the original name for Animate years ago, is that it was closer to this look. And then over time, they just kind of changed where this timeline bar went. So let's go here. So we're going to go back to Window, Workspace. Let's go to Classic. So here's the Classic. So this is what I, quote, grew up with. Okay, see, I got my tools over here on the left, just like it is in Photoshop and Illustrator. But then when I go to, I think they call it Essentials. So when I go to Essentials, they move the toolbar over here to the right. Okay, and then they move the timeline down here. So you can change it, however you feel comfortable. You can change it. Just remember also, if something gets lost, you can go and you can turn it on. So like, I can't find my properties. Well, here it is, turn it on, turn it off, so that way it pops up how you want it. Okay. And again, if things get messed up, you can always go back and say, okay, right now I'm in designer mode. So I just click the reset designer. My content, my timeline, anything I've done on the stage or off stage does not change with this. Only thing that changes is just where these windows are at. So I'm going to say yes, we're going back to the original layout. Okay, so that's safe. All right, so I'm going to go back to what they're calling essentials. Okay, and so we're here. My properties is closed, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click open properties. Oh, and it popped it out. So maybe we're going to, I think I messed, there we go. That's not what I want. So we're going to go window, we're going to go to workspace, we're going to reset essentials. Boom, there we go. Okay, so I got my properties. Remember, I can change the color of my stage. Okay, and this is changing it for every single frame. Right now, I've only got one frame down here that I'm using. Sometimes we just call it a keyframe because there's something in it. Okay, but the stage, when the stage changes, it changes for every frame, every keyframe that's out there. So just make sure that you're not changing it throughout your entire either movie. Sometimes you refer to a flash file as a movie. Or you're not changing it for your game. Again, they tend to call all files like this, they call them movies, because you have these different frames, kind of like in the old style, celluloid negative style movie film, is that you have one picture, next 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 picture, and you run them together, kind of like a little flip book, is that then you have your quote movie. Okay. So right now, I mean, I kind of like this little olive drab green thing. We'll go to, ooh, yellow's bright. It's a little early in the morning for that. We'll go to this little warmer, I don't know if that's a pink. All right, you win, white. Okay, white wins again. All right, so we're going to go with the stage being white. Okay, so I got my properties. I got my frame rate, frames per second. It's how fast it moves. The human eye sees it close to like 30.31 or something like that frames per second is fluid motion. So 24 is going to be a little slow for our brain to where we'll recognize that, oh, it's probably animated. So we could always make it 30. Okay, but 24 for now is fine. I can always change my width and my height. When I change it, I can scale it, and so that way it doesn't skew and look weird, but it has the ability to do that. Publishing settings, that's for when we're done and we output our file to be used either on the web or on a phone or something like that. Right now it's for publishing, because remember we picked HTML5 Canvas. So right now we're publishing to a JavaScript and HTML. So that way it'll run in the web browser, it'll run JavaScript if we have any coding, but we don't have any coding, so we're good. And right now our output name is Untitled. This name right here, kind of correlates to what we have up there. This little asterisk right there, just like in Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, that asterisk means that we have not saved in a while. So we need to save. All right, so let's go here. Let's talk about the timeline down here. Okay, so in the timeline, I've got some controls over here in the bottom left-hand corner. I've got one that's a new layer. I can change the color of the layer, or no, actually this is, that is kind of the color, but it's also on the outline and how we're going to look at it. So it's like if I want to change, maybe I need things to be in a blue family because I'm grouping things together, so I can do that. I can change the name of it. Okay, so it's like maybe I'm going to call this circle, call that my circle layer. And then this one here, I'm just going to double click it. See, I double click where it says there, and I'm going to say square. Okay, and maybe I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to call this one, I'm going to call this one background. Okay, and then, but I can reposition them. So just like working layers in Photoshop, I can drag it and I can reposition it. Right now I got the outlines turned on, so I'm going to click it so that way my fill is back in. I can turn it off. Let's go here to square. Okay, so I'm going to pull out, I'm going to make a square, got my rectangle tool, I'm going to hold the shift key down, shift locks it, so that way it's going to make a proportional square. So I got that. So I got my eyeball, so I can turn my eyeball on and off, so I can turn it on and off. Now here's my background. I'm going to make another one, and where's my color? Here's my fill. I'm going to make my background green. I'm going to make the stroke around it a little darker green. Okay, and then I'm just going to make it all boom. Okay, so remember, the everything off the stage is not seen. Okay, so right now that's my background, so I can turn my background off. Okay, I've got my square. I can turn my square off. Here's my circle. We're going to come here and let's go with the fill of, we'll do red, green, blue. We'll do a light blue fill. We'll do a dark blue stroke. Okay, and I need my circle, so I got to hold the shift key down. Okay, I'm going to come back over here. All right, so now I got, so again, I can turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. Okay, and I got a lock. Okay, so if I need to lock it in place so that way I don't mess it up by accident, you know, then I can lock it in place. Okay, because if I lock it, it's not going to move. See how it like didn't want to let me move that, so I went to a different layer. Okay, and so I got my lock. All right, now, okay, so let's come here. All right, so I just clicked on this. All right, and you see the dotted lines. The dotted lines means I just selected it, so I just moved it. But the problem is it separates the stroke from the fill, so they're separate. They're separate entities. I'm going to do an edit, undo, move. So in order for me to actually work with this entire square, I have to select, you know, this is, okay, see, I'm on the square, okay, and I'm trying to grab it, but it thinks I want to grab what's underneath it, okay? So this is a good example of turning it off. So I'm going to turn off background. I'm going to go back to the square level, okay? So now when I left click and select, it stays on the square. So now I've selected all of the square. It shows me where it was, and then when I release, you know, it drops it down to where it's at now. I can move that out. I can move the stroke out. I can actually, there's a way to separate out. There it is. I just clicked on that one bar, okay? And so, whoops, and I just bent it a little bit, okay? So it's like Adobe Animate gives you the ability to do some pretty neat stuff. And remember, if you don't like something, you can undo it approximately 30 times. One day will count again. It used to be like 33 or something like that. And then in Photoshop, this is called a step backwards. All right, there we go. All right, so that comes down to my layers, okay? You know, now to the frames, okay? So it's like, let's say, you know, let's say now it's like maybe I need to animate something for 1 second. So I'm just going to come out here. I click in the box. Right now, the box is blank. It doesn't even let me move the scrubber over here. So the box is blank. I can either go to Insert on the timeline, either a frame or a keyframe or a blank keyframe. Normally when you do a keyframe, it'll copy all the information before it over. You know, it doesn't do the same. I mean, blank keyframe naturally is blank, and doesn't always do that when you do the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the frame. So now, okay, on the layer, I have no data in square or background for where am I? I'm on number 2. Okay, so I'm on frame 2. See, now my scrub bar tells me right here where I'm at. Okay, and so my current frame is number 8. Okay, so it's like all the way out to frame 24. I have nothing on the square layer or the background layer. So that's why my circle is by itself. Okay, okay, so I just move it right there. And then I come over here. Okay, but see, it's like only on from 1 to 23. The circle is there, but on 24, the circle moves. So let's come here to frame 12, so we're the midway point. I'm going to do a right click here, and then I'm going to insert a keyframe right there, okay? So, but nothing has moved yet, so but now I'm going to come here, and I'm going to say I want this to move to the middle. So now it goes from 1, it's there, there's frame 11, still there, and then frame 12, it jumps to there, all the way to frame 24, and then frame 25, it's there. We're going to move this, whoops, we're going to move this down to here. Let me see where we're at. We start there, and we end there. Okay, so now let's do a little movie magic. Let's do a right click in the middle, and let's actually animate it. We're a step ahead. We really shouldn't be doing this just yet, but don't tell too many people. Let's do a create motion tween. And the selected item cannot be tween. You must convert the symbol. Convert this to a symbol in order to tween. Do you want to convert and create a tween? Okay, so we have to convert our circle to what's called a symbol. Okay, and puts it in the library. So we just made it a symbol. Let's go look in our library. There it is, symbol 1. Okay, so now let's see. So we just made it into a symbol, but it's still not animating. So let's go to right click. Oh, let's do refine tween. Did I mess something up? Oh, there it is. Okay, so now each one of these dots, okay, is a frame. Okay, so whenever I'm on that certain frame, that's what it's going to do. Okay, so let's go here to the end, and let's say now I'm here. Okay, and it's further apart. So further apart I move it, you know, we're there. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Okay, now let's see, how do we get this closed a little bit? I want to close this down. Close it down. I don't normally do it this way. So we need to condense the layer information. It's not. All right, so we're going to play with that. Nope, that's not what I want. See, I want to see this. I want this. Close. Normally there's like a drop down box. See, it's not dropping. We'll double click it. All right, see, sometimes if we're here, you know, if we double click something, then it'll break us into, now we're in the symbol. So we're going to go back to the scene. Oh, there it is. I don't know what it did, but it did something. Okay, so now we're here. Okay, but see, we still don't have any data there. So let's do a right click, insert keyframe. We're going to come here, right click, insert keyframe. Okay, and so let's go here to square. We're going to turn that off. We're going to turn that off so that way we're working with this. So we're going to select it all. Let's make this, let's create the symbol the correct way. So we're going to insert, we're going to say new symbol. New symbol is called a red square. I'm using camel case, and you got your choices. It's either a movie clip, which just means we're animating it. You got a button, meaning that it's going to have an up, down, and hit position, or you got a graphic. And so graphic means that it's just a picture and it's not going to move. Okay, because we're going to animate it, we're going to call it a movie clip. Okay, it's going to save it into the library root. Okay, and now we're looking at the red square. I don't know what blew it up like that without showing us the red. Oh, you know why? Because I didn't select it the correct way. So let's go back here to scene. Right click, convert to symbol. There it is. So there we go. Now I'm going to call it red square 2 because we had it in there by accident. There we go. Okay, so then we're here. So here's the original red square, which is blank because I did it wrong. We're going to right click. We're going to delete that. Okay, so I got my red square and I got my symbol. I'm going to double click it. We're going to call that blue circle. Okay. All right, so then we got our background. Okay, background's going to be there for all the layers. Let's come back here to the red square. We're going to move it over. Oops, yeah. We'll move it here. And let's come here. We're going to do a, where are we ending up? Okay, we're here. We're going to move it to there at the end. And then we're going to right click. And let's do a create classic tween. Okay, create classic tween used to just be a simple tweening. Okay, select frame spans cannot be tween. You must convert frame content to a symbol in order to tween. Do you want to convert and create a tween? Oh, we have the square is a symbol. I don't know why it's asking that. So we're going to click yes. Oh, and it did it. Okay, the arrow. Okay, it's got the end arrow. It's got the starting arrow. That means we did it correctly. If the arrow is dotted or jagged, that means we did not create it correctly. Something happened and it did not like it. Okay, but one way or the other, we created it. This is how I'm used to seeing it, the one with the arrow. Okay, to test it, we go to Control. Play just means like right now on my keyboard, I just hit Enter. Okay, it's going to start frame 1 and then run to the end. Okay, you want to test. Okay, test is Control Enter on the keyboard, and that shows you the final thing. If you got errors, it's going to pop up the error. It should be popping up right here. It's going to make it turn it into a little mini web page or something like that, and then it's going to show, and it's not showing. All right, that means we got an error somewhere. It's because it's looking for code. Yeah, it's looking for JavaScript, and we didn't, or ActionScript, and we didn't program any of that. It still should have run. Maybe it is trying to run, and that's why it's thinking. We'll take a quick break. Thank you, Chick-fil-A, for breakfast. Well, actually, I paid for it, so it's not a thank you so much as it's, yes, it is your pleasure. Because whenever I say thank you, it's my pleasure. Very nice of you. All right, losing patience. Oh, I'm not used to it taking this long. All right, we'll research why it doesn't want to behave. This is the output file. We're going to go back to timeline. So we're just going to have to be satisfied with that. All right. But anyway, the purpose of this exercise was really to show you how these layers work, not really to show you how to animate. So we'll be going over animate layer. Meanwhile, in your notes, I need you to write down all the information related to the toolbars. Okay, toolbars being such things as hover over it, selection tool. Okay, so the selection tool, when you click on something, it selects. Now it's not clicking the inside, like here I click the inside. It's not clicking the inside, it's clicking the whole thing here because the entire thing is a symbol. Here, the thing is not a symbol. You have a fill and you have an outline. Okay, you have a stroke. So that's why it's a little bit different for this shape. This one, it's a symbol. This one, it's a symbol. Well, apparently that one's not a symbol. And so should have been a symbol. And so maybe that's where we're having issues. Oh, look, and I just ripped it off. That's so cool. So Animate and Flash, they sometimes behave a little bit differently. Because remember, Animate and Flash Professional started off as a drawing program, by a company named Macromedia. So we have our direct selection tool. We have a sub-selection tool, so that way you can break parts away easily. Free transform tool, so when you click on something, it allows you to resize it. Okay, and so that's much easier than going to modify and then to the transform, and then opening that up. Okay, so coming back to tools, 3D rotation, but we're not set up for 3D rotation with this. You got your lassos. Okay, lassos are selection tools. You got a pen tool, so that way you can manipulate and warp things using the pen tool. You got your text tool. Sometimes I call it the type tool because of the letter T. You got a line. Come on, it should pop up. There we go. Got our line. We got our rectangle. Rectangles make squares. Hold the shift. You got your oval. Ovals make circles. Hold the shift. You got your polystar. Polystar makes multi-shaped stars or polygons. You just have to click on the options to tell it how many sides you want. You got a pencil tool, for thin drawing. Okay, and on the pencil tool, you have the width of your stroke. Okay, you have a paintbrush. Okay, and then you have also what's called a brush. So you have a paintbrush and a brush. Just remember that when you open that up, you got properties to play with. Down here also, it'll give you some, some features as well. Okay, and so this is with it. Here, let's do. Okay, that's with it smooth. Let's do, or straighten. Let's go smooth. Okay, and it should snap a different way. Okay, it should snap a different way. See how this one on the straighten, it's a little bit straighter line, and this one on the smooth is still kind of curved. Okay, so you have the ability to change that. Okay, this type of data is, it's dependent on the tool. Okay, it's dependent on the tool, and so you have different options. And these options pop up down here at the bottom for properties as well as in the properties. Bone, you use the bone tool if you're doing animation, you're moving things, in that you can put bones inside like a skeleton. Skeleton moves it's the structure that holds the body up. And so the bones are the underlying structure. Got our paint bucket, so it fills. You got a paint bucket tool, and you've got your ink dropper. Okay, it's like you say, oh, I like that pretty red. Then you can use the ink dropper to pick the pretty red. You got an eraser. The eraser does not always behave the same way. Okay, which layer am I on? I'm on the square. That's why it's not erasing anything there. Okay, actually it is. No, okay, well, one way or the other, I think we just messed up our tweening. And so it's still tweening, but it's got the dotted line there, meaning that there's some sort of error. Let's see, width tool, camera tool. So the camera tool, it sets up a different layer, so that way you can actually zoom in and zoom out on a different layer. And so we'll play more with that. You got the move tool, the hand tool, rotation tool, so that way you can kind of shift things around. We've got to be on the circle. There we go. Okay, so right now it's just moving my stage. See, moving my stage right there. See, and I can adjust my stage right here as well. Okay, and then I got my magnifying in and out of the stage. Okay, as well. I like to see a little bit of the stage edge. Okay, and then let's see, then we got our magnifying. Okay, it does the same thing as up here. All right, and then we're going to switch colors. Okay, that's going to switch colors between your stroke and your fill. Okay, switch colors. Okay, or go to black and white. Okay. All right, and then zoom in and zoom out. Okay, and then we also have down here, this is zooming in and zooming out on the timeline. Okay, so maybe it's like I need to see a little bit better because I got my old boomer eyes on today. Okay, and then let's see what else. This scrubs you down the frames, so you can see where you're at in the frames, because you can get these movies, these files really, really huge. Okay, you got the little play bar, you know, and so in the fast forward and rewind, which cover all of this stuff. Okay, and then 1 second, so we're at 24 frames per second, so this is 1 second at a time is how long our movie is right now. Okay, and then make sure you file save as. Okay, it's going to save it as an Animate document, which is a Flash file. Okay, FLA. Okay, FLA files are only designed to look at in Flash Professional or Animate. They will not run on the web. They will not run on your phone. Okay, so you have to export. Okay, or publish. Okay, you either have to export an image, a movie, a video, or you have to publish. When you publish it, it's going to put it in a web page. So we have the web page as well. Okay, questions? Ask.